over the years when it comes to the Bigfoot people hate the UFO people. The UFO people hate the ghost people. The Dogman people, you know, they don't want to have nothing to do with the Bigfoot people, and heaven forbid we mention Lizard Man or something like that. You know, God help us all. And you know, it was literally borderline violence and vitriol.
Hi, this is Paranormal Unhinged, and today joining us is Marcus Ellis, who is the current Region 5 Director of the North American Dogman Project and is an additional member of the Dogman Project Special Investigation Unit. Marcus is a very dedicated and experienced investigator. He has made significant contributions in the field of cryptid research, where he brings a unique background in Bigfoot research, having been trained by the renowned M.K. Davis. Additionally, Marcus has 5 years of experience with the mutual UFO network known as MUFON, where he has honed his investigative skills and deepened his understanding of the paranormal. Hey, Marcus, how you doing?
I am doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
We're doing all right.
Glad you could join us.
So,
Looking
Marcus,
forward to it.
All right. So can you explain to us what the North American Dogman Project is, how it functions, and what the ultimate goal of the project is?
Sure. The North American Dogman Project was founded back in 2006 with Jody Cook. He's our founder and leader, and it is the largest organization dedicated to the research and investigation of the Dogman phenomenon, and we operate much the same way that MUFON does. We have a website, and through that website, we take reports from eyewitnesses and people who have encountered these creatures. And from there, it kind of disseminates down from the top out to the different areas and regions, which, as you mentioned, I'm over Region 5, which is 10 of your southeastern states. I'm located here in Mississippi, so I'm also the state representative for Mississippi. But say, for example, a person, you know, goes to the website, which is www.northamericandogmanproject.com. They can click on a button where they can turn in their report. The report then goes through our headquarters, and from there, we have, you know, director of operations, and then we have a young lady who is in charge of our communications and you know, our website and things like that. And from there, once they realize and recognize what state, what region this is being reported in, it's then pushed out to two people. It's pushed out to the regional director, and then it's also pushed out to the state representative. And a lot of times the state representative usually is also a field investigator for that state. So from there, we open up and launch an investigation. And what we try to do, I will say this, we are a no-kill organization. We're not out trying to kill a dog man or anything like that. We're trying to understand what these things are, where they come from, how to deal with them. And to me, the most important part about any of this is we provide people with that sympathetic, understanding ear. Because so many times, and I can't tell you whether it was with a Bigfoot encounter or whether it was, you know, in my days with MUFON, talking with UFO witnesses or possible alleged alien abduction experiencers. Excuse me. The thing that you get constantly is people they want somebody to talk to. They want somebody that's not going to make fun of them, that's not going to laugh at them, not going to call them a liar. And that's what the NADP is all about. Now, that being said, we do have a unit that's called the SRT, the Special Response Team. And this is basically, to kind of put it, I guess in an easy to understand term, the SRT is basically the SWAT unit for the NADP. We have a director who's over the SRT, and what the SRT's role would be if we had an area where a dog man was in this area and we had animals being attacked, we had, you know, domestic pets being killed, we had near attacks or even possible outright attacks, Jody Cook could activate the SRT team or the director of the SRT team. And within 24 to 48 hours, they would be boots on the ground in that area. Now, they would apply and use, military, police style tactics and equipment. And the thing of it is, again, their mission would not necessarily be to go in and kill a dog man. I mean, if they were threatened, then hopefully they would have the firepower and the ability to put this thing down. But as Patrick Bryan, our leader over that part, told me one day, and I thought it was brilliantly put. I mean, even a lunkhead like me could understand it. It's basically, we're going in, we're letting the dog man know we're here, we're armed, we can hurt you. You need to back down, and you need to maybe move out of this area and stop this mess, or we will stop you. And I thought that was a really good way of putting that. So again, we're a no-kill organization, and we also have something that's called the SIU, which is the Special Investigations Unit, and that basically is just what it says. Again, Patrick Bryan is over this as well, and Patrick and I will be speaking together at that conference in Eureka Springs, by the way. Basically, what you have there is a think tank. We have a group of people who are scientists like me, guys that are off into the paranormal. We have one young lady who is very experienced and well-versed in what you guys do, ghost hunting and things like that. So if we have a potential problem to examine, that may get tossed over into the SIU. We may bat that around and try to, come up with ideas and thoughts. And the other big thing we have a science division. We're not just out there running around trying to chase cryptids and chase the paranormal, which, I mean, yes, we do that. But we also are taking things from a scientific, bent. We're trying to apply science, again, much the same way that MUFON, uses science to try to figure out what's going on with UAP and UFOs. We're doing the same thing with the NADP. So it's a very serious organization. We do take this very seriously. I mean, we have fun, and we're a big family, and like most family, we'll pick and fight and we'll argue, and but we love each other and we work together as a team. And I couldn't be more blessed to be with a group of guys and gals like what Jody Cook has put together.
That's fantastic.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Because kind of like we were talking about before, we started. For the uninformed, can you kind of break down exactly what a dogman is? Kind of maybe delve a little bit into the history of dogman and basically what this thing actually is.
Okay. Yeah. The dogman cryptid. Well, the dogman is a cryptid, just like Bigfoot, and just like a lot of other famous or infamous creatures that are said to be roaming the woods and lakes and ponds and all like that. Dogman is a canine creature. The average height of this creature is between 6 and 8 feet tall. It can be very muscular. It can be very skinny. It has the head of a canine, like a German Shepherd or a wolf or something like that. There are even reports of dogmen that kind of have a hyena-looking head and face.
That's not scary at all, huh?
No, not scary in the least little bit. And of course, that's just us joking. But you're talking about a creature that motivates on its hind legs. It is just as comfortable down on all fours as it is upright. There are cases where when one would go from being down on all fours to upright, that for the first moment or two that it is kind of a little awkward, but once it gets its bearings and all, it walks around and motivates just as good as you and I do. So you are talking something that is wolf-like, dog-like, and when people are going, okay, well, throw me a picture, give me a picture of what a dog man looks like. And, like I asked you a little while ago, what's your favorite werewolf movie? And, the first thing that I always go for is Underworld. If you look at the lichens in the movie Underworld, the movie Dog Soldiers, that's one of my all-time favorite, horror movies. Silver Bullet, Bad Moon. When you see a werewolf, that's a werewolf. That's what people are encountering in the woods. And the crazy thing is, we're seeing more and more of these things moving in towards cities and towns.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Sasquatch. They're doing the same thing.
Now, is there a reason for that?
Well,
Like, is it just because the cities are growing, or like what do you think the reason behind that is?
I think they're chasing food sources. I think they're looking for a quick, easy meal, because a lot of times when they're seen rummaging through garbage dumpsters and around garbage dumpsters and waste places like that. I think like any creature that has to survive the way that something like that would have to survive. I mean, hey, I go to McDonald's every once in a while. you know, I mean, if I can come home and not have to do a whole lot of cooking and cleaning in the kitchen, then that's what I'm going to do. So, and the other thing I think is curiosity. I think these creatures have a deep rooted curiosity about what us humans do. I never will forget how one Bigfoot researcher was commenting about how they're always watching us and they're sneaking up to us. And these creatures, especially Sasquatch, are extremely stealthy. I mean, we have reports of them being within 3 to 4 feet of people, and until something scares them and makes them reveal their, that where they are, these people had no idea that these things were able to get that close. Dogman is no different. But as this one guy said, we are their entertainment. We can go home and we can, watch Seinfeld or, Ancient Aliens or the Kardashians, heaven forbid. And that's our entertainment.
Right.
Right.
So we are their entertainment. They love watching us, and sometimes, especially in the case of Dogman, they love scaring us. That seems to be their main function. They love terrorizing and scaring the hell out of people. So I would say it's a combination of things why we're seeing them more and more in suburban areas.
So do you think that, I mean, obviously with how we are today, we have all this technology, all this knowledge, and, shows like Ancient Aliens that love to educate us on that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Or try to.
They try.
I was trying to be nice. Do you think it's because we're a lot more knowledgeable now, so maybe we could come across as less scared than like we used to be before, let's just say the 1800s, right? Where we didn't have any technology. All we had was torches or fire to light everything. So do you think that could possibly be a reason as to why they're moving in? Because they're like, oh, these guys are less scared, or maybe
that is a very good question. I've never been asked that. That's an excellent question. I would say yes and no. The one thing that these creatures are well aware of, and people will have a hard time believing this, but I consider it fact. These creatures are well aware of technology. They know what a camera is. They know what a cell phone is. They know what a game trail camera is, and they avoid these things. They're able to avoid these things. There's no question in my mind. Have they slipped up and got caught by game cams and stuff like that? Absolutely, they have. But it is very, very rare. They don't like technology, and and with you guys being in the paranormal field, you have seen episodes where, say, you're in a haunted, residence or building or whatever, and all of a sudden your batteries go down, your cameras start, crapping out. I have had the same thing happen to me. Matter of fact, the first time it ever happened to me, I mean, I had epic equipment failure just an hour away from watching a Bigfoot slip across a trail behind me, trying to slip up behind me. And before that, I had a Garmin Mini, because I do not go in the field without a personal locator. That failed. I had 2 GoPros fail. I had a camcorder fail. And going back to the Garmin GPS, it took almost 15 minutes for it to lock onto a satellite. And I got errors out of my GoPro that on one of my next outings, the GoPro completely failed. And I have no doubt in my mind that I got what you call zapped. I mean, Bigfoot, in my determination, whether you want to call it infrasound, whatever you want to call it, they have the ability to project something that interferes with technology. And I think I might have kind of veered off your question, but okay, yeah, I
That's
remember
okay.
now. Are they less afraid of us than they once were? I would say it would depend on the situation. For example, if a Sasquatch or a Dogman is aware that you are armed, the chances are they're going to be either completely avoiding you, not have anything to do with you. Whereas if you're unarmed, they may make their presence known. And they will also do that, both Dogman and Bigfoot. If you're in their area and this very spot where I'm talking about, where I had the equipment failure and I saw this Sasquatch cross the trail, I have been run out of that very same area about 3 different prior times. It's a wildlife management refuge area. They're all in this place. That got turned on to me and MK Davis, and they will let you know real quick, you need to go. You've been here long enough, you've seen enough, and it's time for you to go. But also on the same deal, before I saw the Sasquatch, I was leaving. But what happened right before that was what we refer to as a bluff charge. And the crazy thing about this bluff charge was I was on one side of this creek. MK referred to it as a bayou, but it was a creek, and on the other side was wide open woods. I could see up into the woods. I had clear line of sight for dozens of yards up inside these woods, and I'm standing there on this trail. And again, now I've just had all kinds of equipment failure. I've got everything, kind of scotch taped together and up and running. And then I see this stick shoved down in the road, or off the trail rather. And I've got my back to the other side of where you can see up into the woods. And I'm looking at this stick that's been shoved into the ground. And all of a sudden from behind me, I hear what sounds like a cat bulldozer that has been picked up by the Incredible Hulk and just thrown straight through the woods right at me.
Wow.
The hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. I mean, and there's this just loud commotion. And I turn around, and I've got my camcorder. Matter of fact, that was about the only thing I could film with that day, was a Canon camcorder. I wheel around, and I'm looking up in there where that noise come from, and there isn't so much as a leaf moving. I mean, there is nothing. I don't see anything. I don't see limbs breaking. I don't see broken foliage. I see nothing. And again, the hair on the back of my neck is standing straight up, but I stood my ground, and in my opinion, looking back on it now, because at the time I didn't make a big deal of it, it didn't hit me until months later. Whatever these things are, they can do something. They can make you hear things and make you feel things and make you experience things that may or may not have actually happened. I don't know if there wasn't nothing there. I didn't turn around and see a Bigfoot. I should have turned around and seen anything, but there was nothing there. So something affected me, something disturbed the space, and it sounded like a tractor or a bulldozer getting chunked through the woods at me. And then I turned to leave after a few minutes, and as I walk, I'll do a 360, because at the time I didn't have what I call, or what Scott Carpenter, a Bigfoot researcher from Tennessee who's now passed on, sadly, he would have a GoPro turned backwards filming behind him as he walked away. And some of the footage that he caught of Dogmen and Bigfoot and portals is just mind-blowing. But I didn't have that set up that day, so I would walk and I would turn around. And when I turned around this third time, that's when I saw this hairy, man-like creature, reddish, orangish red hair, come out of the tree line, cross the trail, and kind of go down into the brush toward this creek. And I thought to myself, well, Marcus, you have checked every box you can check today. It's time to go home. I mean, equipment failure, bluff charge, and now you saw one. Yep, it's. I'm gonna put this in the win column. So, but yeah. These creatures, and Dogman, it's talked about that Bigfoot can mind speak. We have lots of cases we have cases of Dogman doing mind speak too.
So you're speaking in terms of like telepathically communicating.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, in your opinion, would you say that these creatures are more spiritual or physical? I mean, obviously they're physical because you can see them, but would you say that they're more on the spiritual side as well, since they can do, like the speaking into your mind and do these types of things to make you feel certain ways and stuff like that?
I would definitely say that is way up there in the high probability scale. You know, when you talk about Bigfoot and Dogman being able to do this, I mean, we have reports of Sasquatches stepping into portals, stepping out of portals. We've had reports of Dogmen walking into a tree, disappearing.
So essentially, you're saying they're like interdimensional beings. Would they travel between dimensions?
Well, I definitely think that is a strong possibility. My theory on that is, and again, I don't mean to speak for the NADP when I say this, because you know, Jody and everybody that's a member of the NADP, we have free will and we have the ability to think and reason and have theories and stuff like that. I'm sure there's NADP guys who feel like these creatures are 100% flesh and blood, 365, 24/7. And who's to say they're wrong? There are those. Okay, my feeling on the matter is depending on their bloodline, depending on their genes, depending on their heritage. A strong bloodline like take dogs for example. You're not going to go to the Westminster Kennel Show and see Fido from
Right.
Billy Bob's front porch walking around with the lady and the
Right.
you're not going to see that. You're going to see the best of the best. You're going to see the most purebred, expensively raised and pure bloodline, pure genes, canines that the world has ever produced. My viewpoint is I feel like there are Bigfoot and Dogmen that are 100% flesh, and they are here 365, 24/7. And I believe that because of their breeding and because of who their parents were and so forth, I believe some of them do have the ability to traverse other dimensions and to traverse other realms and to come in and out.
Okay.
That's one of my personal theories. And the bottom line is I respect what other researchers and what other investigators, how they think, how they feel, what they have as far as a number one suspect on what a cryptid is or isn't. And I just hope that people would respect mine and
Right.
Absolutely.
And of course, as we've talked about before, that's one of the things about why I wanted to reach out with you guys. The times have changed. It used to be, we were joking earlier about Ole Miss and State, but
Yep.
how heated that rivalry can be.
Yep.
My nephew got married. He was is a Mississippi State graduate. His wife graduated from Ole Miss, and we were a house divided. But we were at the wedding reception, and the bride's family diehard Ole Miss, my nephew's family diehard Mississippi State. One of the bridesmaids' family members made a comment about Mississippi State, and there was almost a fight. There was literally almost a knockdown drag out right there at my nephew's wedding reception. And I'm
I
like,
can see that.
seriously? I mean, and I'm sure that's like that in most states when it comes to football. But the same thing has applied over the years when it comes to the Bigfoot people hate the UFO people. The UFO people hate the ghost people. The Dogman people, they don't want to have nothing to do with the Bigfoot people, and heaven forbid we mention Lizard Man or something like that. God help us all. And it was literally borderline violence and vitriol, and it's still there. I mean, I can't lie and say that it's not still there. It is still there. I mean, for example, if you guys have not watched, are you familiar with David Politis, the Missing 411 researcher?
No, we're not.
Okay,
No.
well that.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Oh, okay.
David.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah, him.
Paulides
Okay.
initially
Yes.
started out in the Bigfoot world, and a lot of
Okay.
people don't realize it. I mean, he's more open about it now, of course, but he's written a couple of really good books about Sasquatch. But he has a new movie that's out called American Sasquatch. And basically it takes what and I don't like this term. I don't even like using it, but I will, because your cryptid, fans and listeners out there will go, okay, when he says the woo, I know what Marcus is talking about. And the woo is what we were just mentioning,
Mhm.
the mind speak, the orbs, the portals, the tracks going across the snow or the mud, a muddy field, and there's like 15, 20 tracks, boom, 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 and then no more tracks.
Yeah.
No hills, no trees, nothing where it could have jumped or took off. It just stops. So Paulides's new movie is taking that concept of the paranormal coming into play with Bigfoot. And I'm here to tell you guys, and I'm here to tell your viewers and all, the same thing applies when it comes to Dogman. There is a paranormal connection with these creatures at times. It may not be all the time, but it is there, because Dogman will do the very same thing. They will disappear. There will be tracks. Boom, no more tracks. We've had reports of orbs, fluttering around, flying before, during, and after sightings and encounters. So again, that's why I say I wanted to reach out with more of the paranormal folks, because now we can have that conversation. Now it's not going to be a Ole Miss versus Mississippi State knockdown drag out. We can talk and hopefully work together and get along.
That would be lovely for a change, wouldn't it?
And I absolutely love the fact that you brought up orbs, because this one right here absolutely hates orbs.
Really?
Like, she can't stand it. It's hilarious because, of course, when you're looking over evidence, especially on our side of things, with being in houses that, may have been vacant for years, or even the way that some people live their lives, you get those little dust bunnies that fly across the screen.
It's not just dust bunnies, it's bugs, it's moisture molecules. They're refracting off the IR lights, or you call it that in photography, it's backscatter.
Oh, yeah,
backscatter, yeah.
So this one right here does anything and everything within her power to say, no, it's not an orb. It's a dust bunny.
Except that one time?
It's a light.
Except that one time?
Except the one time.
Except that one time. Yeah, it's always except that one time.
And I was looking over the evidence, and I was like, hey, Raven, come check this out. And she was like, no, that's not. I was like,
55 minutes on film. Yes, we have it. So yeah, they do happen. They do, but they don't look like.
She is now a believer.
Okay, but you have to debunk that seriously, because there's so much backscatter. But anyways, we're getting a little off course here. So I think my biggest question is, what is the difference between a dogman, a werewolf, and a rougarou?
Okay. Your rougarou or loup-garou, that is a situation that came over from Europe in the 17 and 1800s, especially through the port of New Orleans. Your French immigrants and your German immigrants, the old melting pot of America, your Irish, when they started settling and moving into these areas. Of course, they brought their legends and their myths and their culture with them, of course. And when you look back at that, the werewolf craze in Europe in the 1800s, you can see why. You have hundreds of accounts of people being attacked, killed, and maimed by werewolves. And of course, you have to look at that, through the sands of time, and you have to realize, and this is a new theory for something that I'm working on. You have to realize that in those days, people had to put weird things and things that were going on with them. They had to put it in a box too. We try to put things in a box as well. Did that lampshade just move? No. That was an orb. So I'm picking on Raven here. But
yeah, I got you. I got you, buddy.
But yeah, I know you'll pay me back, I'm sure. But they had to put things in a box. So a lot of times, like with the witch trials and all, if you weren't born on the right side of a blanket, the next thing you know, you're being accused of werewolfery or being a witch or something like that, and you're being executed or whatever. And then, you know, you probably did have wild animals that were attacking and killing livestock and animals and all like that. But again, those areas were so and are so steeped in vampire lore, witch lore, and werewolves. So your Rougarou and Loup-garou, that falls under the same category as a werewolf. A Loup-garou and Rougarou is a person, usually a male, that because of a curse, a hereditary situation being passed down, like with the Rougarou, you can do certain things wrong in the parishes, and especially if it's against the Catholic Church, you could wind up becoming a Rougarou. So you're talking about a werewolf. You're talking about Lon Chaney Jr. Now you're talking about,
Gotcha.
you know, American Werewolf in London. So you're talking about a person that has changed. Do what?
It is a good movie. It is a good movie.
Oh yeah, that's obviously one of his favorites. The werewolf in that is just terrifying. But anyway,
Yeah.
so that's what you're talking about when you're talking about a Rougarou and a werewolf. They're kind of cut from the same cloth. They are a human being that through supernatural paranormal means, they have the ability or the lack of ability to stop from turning into a wolf. A dogman is a cryptid. And a cryptid is a creature, by definition, that science has not discovered and acknowledged as being real. We don't look at Dogman as being a werewolf. We don't look at Dogman as being a shapeshifter. The evidence and what we encounter and what we see does not seem to support it being a human transforming into, you know, a wolf. But
okay,
you know, I get asked this all the time, and I know depending on the topic, you know, you guys are going to ask me this, but I'm always asked, you know, when it comes to Bigfoot, when it comes to Dogman or whatever, what do you think it is? And of course, you know, one thing is an extraterrestrial. Could it be an extraterrestrial? Could it be something bioengineered in a lab? Could it be a skinwalker? Could it be this? Could it be that? My answer is always D, all of the above. You can't take anything off the table. You can't, this is my opinion, but you can't call yourself an investigator and a researcher when you've just, you know, I mean, look, it's nothing wrong with you having your theory. Absolutely nothing wrong. Like what I said earlier about what I think, you know, some of these creatures can and can't do. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm also open-minded to all the things that I just named a little while ago.
Right.
Some of those things, you know, do I think Dogman or Bigfoot is an extraterrestrial? Personally, I don't. Could things be going on in labs behind closed doors?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, could our government or could some scientific, you know, aspect of the military industrial complex be creating things, you know, a la the island of Dr. Moreau? I mean,
possibly, yeah.
You know,
I wouldn't put it past them.
I mean, we know for a fact that Joseph Stalin in communist Russia, you know, decades ago, he wanted to merge ape DNA with human DNA to create a super soldier.
Exactly.
Now, whether or not you know he succeeded, I'm not sure about that. But my point is, if the human mind can think it, somebody's going to try it.
Absolutely.
And you know, I constantly refer back to the very first Jurassic Park movie. Jeff Goldblum's character, when, you know, the junk has hit the fan, they're sitting there talking, and the old guy who's running Jurassic Park, he just lights up. He's like, well, we were able to do this, and we were able to clone this, and we were able to do that. And Jeff Goldblum sits there and he goes, you know, that's the problem with you scientist types. You're so busy trying to figure out, can you do something? You never stop and think about, should you do something? And,
exactly.
you know, so if we know, and we won't get off into conspiracy theory here, but we do know for a fact our government has done some unscrupulous things, you know, to its citizens.
As has every government. Yeah,
yes,
every government has.
That's true.
Well, see, my whole thing is too, I understand in folklore, especially with the Ottawa people of Michigan, they had stories way back before there were even settlers here in this country about these creatures as well.
Yes.
So I think that's quite fascinating that, plausibly, yes, it could be experimentation. Plausibly, they've always been here. We don't know.
Yes. Yeah. In actuality, I feel like they have always been here. I feel like a Bigfoot and Dogman, I think they came up right side by side with our Native American, brothers and sisters. I think they have watched and been there with them for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And one of the first things that M.K. Davis taught me when he would take me out on our, excursions and adventures and stuff like that, he started taking me to Indian mounds. And I'm sitting there scratching my head, this is like early in my career of him taking me under his
Right.
wing. But I'm sitting here going like, where are we going? Thought we were looking for Bigfoot. And we wind up at Indian mounds. And he took me to one set of Indian mounds here in central Mississippi that is just a hotbed of paranormal activity. I still go there. I still go there to this day. It's one of my favorite research areas. But and finally, after a couple of years, it finally went through my thick head. He was trying to tell me and teach me and show me that there is a connection between cryptids and Indian mounds. If you stop and look, there's lots of paranormal activity that happen in and around Indian mounds. A lot of Bigfoot encounters, Indian mounds. Dogman encounters, Indian mounds. I mean, one of Linda Godfrey's very first cases, matter of fact, I made a note about it. It's in a couple of her books, but yeah, 1936 in Jefferson, Wisconsin, there was a Catholic school there for gifted children, and this security guard would go out at night and he would patrol the grounds, make sure everything was kosher. And one night he goes out and there is this, what he thinks to be a huge dog digging into an Indian mound that is right there on the property, same property as the church. And this thing turns around, sees him, gets up on his legs and runs off. The next night, he comes back. This thing is there again doing the same thing, digging into the mound. It turns around, looks at him, stares him down, and according to this gentleman, his name was Mark Shackleman, it uttered the word Gadara at him.
Wow.
And now whether or not this was just the beast growling and it happened to sound like the word Gadara, or whether it was the word Gadara itself, we don't know. We'll never know. But if you do your Bible research, Gadara is the place in the New Testament where Jesus expelled the demons calling themselves Legion.
Yep.
Oh my, yeah.
So, that was 1936. So the Dogman phenomenon goes back to the 1800s. I mean, in my research, I found a quote unquote werewolf report from 1945. Excuse me.
Fascinating.
So yes, there is definitely a connection between the Native Americans and these cryptid creatures. There's no doubt in my mind, and that's what MK again finally got through my brain, and it opened up my viewpoint and my eyes. And he has a really good friend, Ron Moorhead. Ron Moorhead is a Bigfoot investigator of renown who recorded back in the 70s what's known as the Sierra Sounds. And these tapes were of this place way back in the California mountains where they had a hunting camp, and they had Sasquatch just all around them.
I'm familiar with that because I'm from California. I'm from
Yep.
California originally. So.
Right. So they were able to record these sounds that these creatures were making, and lo and behold, decades later, they were analyzed by a gentleman by the name of Scott Nelson, and he discovered that there is a language that's in these sounds. And but the thing that got me about Ron was at the time this book that he had just written and published called The Quantum Bigfoot. And in this book, Ron Moorhead lays out that he's talking about, again, the woo. He's talking about the fact that these creatures can make sounds that sounds like car doors slamming in the middle of the woods, car horns, the sound of their camp one night being absolutely demolished.
Oh, wow.
And they wake up the next morning, go outside of their fortified structure, every pot, pan, cooking utensil perfectly in place right where they left it. But that night, it sounded like it was being destroyed. Now,
I
think
wonder
about
if there's
that.
like some kind of psychic, implantation of thoughts, because you can affect matter in that way. Like we were talking about the whole idea of the brain being a receiver and transmitter of information on the quantum level.
Yes.
Like maybe electronically and, psychically, they could make that connection and make us believe things that aren't necessarily true. Like I'm just guessing.
Well, again, when you go back to what happened with me there in the woods,
Mm-hmm.
the sounds that I heard behind me, and I turn around and there's absolutely nothing there. Something was at work there. Something was affecting my electronics.
Clearly, yeah.
And when you look at what Ron basically was saying was these things are able to affect matter. They're able to access, quantum mechanics, quantum science. That's how this can be explained. And again, it was another eye-opening, deal for me. So, his book, The Quantum Bigfoot, it's required reading, especially if you feel that Bigfoot, and again, I slipped that right over to Dogman, that if they can do these things, they're manipulating, they're operating things that are there. They're operating and doing things that, like, okay, again, look at Jesus when Jesus performed his miracles. Jesus was manipulating and using the things that we see around us, and for a better lack of term, the things we don't see every day. We don't see atoms, and we don't see neutrons, and we don't see neurons, but we know that they're there, and they can be manipulated. Yep. If you have the talent and the means and the power and the ability, you can manipulate that. So I feel like some of these creatures definitely have the ability to do that.
That is fascinating. I mean, I never knew that about them, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
It does. It really does.
It just, when you brought up the fact that creature uttered that name, I mean, it just makes me, because I'm from a Christian background.
I am too.
And so I try and root everything biblically. And we agree on most things, and that's why I think we work so well together, is because while she comes from the Native American beliefs and what her tribe actually believed,
absolutely,
they're parallels
awesome.
in a lot of ways.
There is a synergy. There is a middle ground.
Yes,
absolutely,
and there is.
It just makes me wonder that these creatures, if they are, because we really don't know, the spiritual realm as far as how the Bible describes it, and the Bible says there is one. But all we really know is like the angels, the hierarchy of the angel, and then somewhat about like the demonic realm. But there are tons, like millions of creatures well within that realm as well that isn't necessarily recorded in the Bible, but it is talked about. And they're able to do these things just like, demons are able to manipulate things around us, make us scared, make us frightened, make us see things that aren't really there. I mean, this kind of sounds a lot of the same thing.
Well,
which is interesting to me.
And the thing about that, now we've talked about.
Why do you think science hasn't come out with an official statement like, yeah, there is something possibly going on here?
Okay, I'll trace that back, and we're fixing to go down another genre that is both cryptid and spiritual and biblical.